All right. Win Magazine editor Tristan Warner here, joined by special guest Piper Fowler. Piper has been named the recipient of the 2026 Win Magazine Women's Schalles Award winner as the nation's top pinner in college wrestling. Before we get a little into your season, Piper, and about the award and talking about Wade Schalles and his propensity for pinning, what was your reaction when you heard that you were up for the award and that you were named the recipient of the Schalles Award?
I just thought it was super cool. Like I didn't realize that this was, a thing and when I got the message that I won the award, I was like, wow, really? So,
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about your season real quick. So you were a freshman at William Penn this year, which competes in the NAIA. 23-3 record on the season. You racked up 14 pins, won a national title, pinned all three of your opponents in the conference tournament, all in the first period actually, and you pinned all four of your opponents at the NAIA championship, three of those being in the first period. So, I mean, obviously, when you take a look at those incredible stats, tell me a little bit about, when you go out on the mat, you're not out there looking to skate by or just, do enough to win. You're looking to dominate. Where does, talk a little bit about your season and where does that come from?
um, it just, I want to be the best and I have people in my corner who push me to be the best. So, my coaches tell me, and I don't necessarily go out in my matches every match, with the intention to pin, but I'm always looking for it. If it's there, then I'm gonna take the opportunity. So
Yeah, and in collegiate women's, obviously you guys are wrestling freestyle out there. And you just got back from Las Vegas, the U.S. Open, watching those matches. There's so many matches where if one person is superior than the other, they go out, take down, lace, match over in 10 seconds. But to actually go out and pin the person, it almost takes more work or more effort at times. Just talk a little bit about, how are you able to see, if that pin's there, or how do you find yourself in positions where you're putting the match away instead of just going out and racking up 10 quick points and getting off?
yeah, I mean, a lot of the time it just kind of happens. I don't really know how to explain it. Sometimes I just, I am looking for the lace or for the gut or for something else, and then I see an opening to get the half or whatever it may be and turn them to their back. So I take that opportunity because if you get the pin, the match is over. So,
Yep.
it leaves nothing up to chance. So.
Yeah, we talked to your coach, Jake Cadle, a little bit. He talked a lot about, he stressed to the team this year about pinning. What was his message to the team this year? And maybe for dual meets especially, or for tournaments where you guys are trying to rack up more team points, how important was what he told the team this year? And did that kind of resonate with you when you went out and racked up so many of these pins?
Yeah, yeah, he talked to the team about getting those pins because those few extra bonus points can really help in a dual meet. So I feel like whenever I wrestle, even not in a dual meet, I kind of just have him saying that in the back of my
Mm-hmm.
head. So I'm constantly looking for the pin because if you get a pin, it's more points, and the other team gets no points, and it's just what's best for the team. So yeah.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about, if you would, you were one of the top prospects coming out of the country in high school, and you had obviously a lot of options where you could have gone and wrestle. What was it about William Penn and Jake and some of the other staff members and team there that helped make your decision?
Yeah, I really love Jake and Cash. I think they're the best coaches in the country, and that was ultimately what made me choose William Penn. But I also loved the girls here, and I loved that they were just like a family. And I love Oskaloosa. It's just like a community. Like it's one big family. Everybody knows each other. Everybody supports each other. Every time I get back from a tournament, my professors, my classmates, my friends are all telling me good job. They kept up with what happened, and I love the community.
That's awesome. And one of the other things Jake talked about was your ability to pin from different positions. He said I think I can't remember if he said it was your national finals match, you hit a hip toss. He said you can bar half people, you can whatever. So many different ways to pin people. How much of that comes from what you've learned at William Penn, or how much of that comes from your upbringing? I know you obviously had a stellar career in Tennessee. Talk a little bit about your ability to hit different techniques and have an arsenal of moves.
Well, Jake and Cash have helped with that a lot, obviously. We do a lot of work in those positions and figuring out how to pin somebody from all these different positions, but also my coach back home, Coach Boskin, he taught me, almost everything I know, and he kind of instilled the same thing in me that Jake and Cash instill in me. That's just look for the pin, look for that, and he's always been the one that's like, you're gonna get the pin, get the pin. That's just how all three of them are. My coach back home and Jake and Cash, they're very similar, and they just teach me the same things. So
Yeah. And, talking about back home, your brothers, Cy and Logan, wrestle at Air Force. How instrumental was it to have brothers that were in the sport when you were coming up through and maybe even looking back to when you were, younger as a kid wrestling to now? How much have you seen women's wrestling grow, and how do you feel like you're, an influence for some of these younger girl wrestlers out there?
yeah, I mean, when I was little, there was no girls around. Not that I knew of. There wasn't any girls in my state, so I practiced with my brothers a lot. My twin brother Sai, he was my main training partner growing up, so he's a big part of the reason I am where I am today. My older brother Logan, he also trained with me a lot, and they're some of my biggest supporters. A lot of people, growing up didn't support women's wrestling, but my brothers, they did, and they were my biggest supporters, my biggest help. They trained with me all the time. They went with me when no other boys in the room wanted to go with me. And now it's just amazing to see that there are so many women that are wrestling, and that little girls all over the country are wrestling now, and it's just the growth that it's had is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about just talking about Tennessee wrestling in general? That's a state that maybe 20 years ago people would have been like, does Tennessee have wrestling? But now every year you look on the women's front too. I recently interviewed Kenya Sloan. She's a Tennessee native, but
Yep.
both sides, men and women's, you're having Super 32 finalists from Tennessee and guys going to become D1 All Americans. What can you tell me about just the way that Tennessee wrestling has been growing?
Oh yeah, the growth in Tennessee has been just like you said. It a couple years ago, you didn't really hear about people from Tennessee, and now I think we're having a lot of people have success at the national level from Tennessee, and that's also amazing to see. I love watching, especially the females. I love being able to, when I go to World Team Trials, or when I went to Fargo, and being able to see all these other girls from Tennessee competing there and doing well. I love seeing my state do well. So.
Yeah, it's great to see for the sport. So yeah, I echo you there. Definitely good to see. And the last question I wanted to ask you is, and this is another thing your coach Jake touched on a little bit. But when you chose William Penn, he said it wasn't just that she wanted to become a collegiate, NAIA national champ. It was that she has aspirations well beyond college wrestling. And obviously, you just made a world team, I believe, at women's nationals a couple weeks ago. When you go out and dominate the way that you did this year, like we said, 14 of your 23 wins were pins, and you pinned your way through the NAIA tournament. How do you kind of like shift your focus to next year, thinking of your goals and all that, when you kind of keep in mind, like, I'm just thinking like it would almost be easy to get complacent, thinking like, oh, I already ran through this college level as a freshman. How do you kind of regroup and keep your goals high and thinking, I guess, well into the future beyond just your next college season?
Well, I mean, I think I just take it one step at a time. So right now, I'm focusing on worlds and my summer training, and just getting better. And then once college season rolls around again, it's just I start the same way I started this year with, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know who I'm gonna face. I'm just gonna take it one match at a time and wrestle my best, wrestle like me.
That's awesome. Great mentality. We wish you the best of luck going forward in your sophomore season, and obviously representing Team USA this offseason. Once again, Piper Fowler, the winner of the Win Magazine Women's Schalles Award as the nation's top pinner, representing William Penn. Piper, thanks again for taking the time to do this interview, and best of luck to you. Congratulations.
Thank you.